Hello, and welcome to Northwest Newsweek. Northwest Region OPP have confirmed that 3 people died in Thursday morning's fatal transport collision near Ignace. The crash happened at around 3:30 a.m. along Highway 17 just west of Ignace. 2 transport trucks collided head-on, and the cabs of both vehicles were completely destroyed. Police have also confirmed that both drivers died at the scene, along with a passenger in one of the transports. So far, only one of the victims has been identified, a man from Brampton, Ontario. The highway was shut down for nearly 12 hours after the crash. There's no word yet on a potential cause of the crash. Premier Doug Ford confirmed on Friday that Ontarians will be headed to the polls on February 27th. Area MPPs quickly responded, including Kevin Holland, who was hosting Energy Minister Stephen Lecce that same day. They both support Ford's plan, saying it will help Ontario challenge Donald Trump over the next 4 years. But Thunder Bay's NDP representative isn't buying it. Vasilios Bellos reports.
After months of speculation, Ontarians are heading to the polls early.
This decision wasn't taken lightly by our caucus.
Thunder Bay Atikokan MPP Kevin Holland addressed the snap election call when making an announcement with Energy Minister Stephen Lecce. Holland agreed with the decision, believing it sets the province up best to challenge U.S. President Donald Trump, especially with a looming 25% tariff threat.
We know the president is volatile. He shoots from the hip, as they say, and we needed to ensure that we had a good, strong government in place for the full term of his presidency to deal with whatever may be coming forward.
Some, including opposition leaders, have argued the Ford government doesn't need an election to counter Trump, as they already hold a majority in the legislature.
President Trump just got elected with maximum political capital. He won the Congress, the Senate, the White House, the popular vote.
Lecce doesn't agree with that argument, saying a strong, consistent government is required for the next 4 years.
What we don't want is for, in the case of the current prime minister or potentially future premiers, to be lame ducks, where you're negotiating when they know that you're on the way out. We need to maximize our leverage with a mandate from the people of Ontario.
It's going to cost the public millions of dollars that don't need to be spent right now.
Thunder Bay's Superior North's new Democratic MPP Lise Vaugeois doesn't agree with the early election, calling it political opportunism.
He's been planning an early election since last spring. So, the Trump tariffs is just a new opportunity, really. And it's not in the public interest. He doesn't need to be doing this. That said, we're ready, and I'm certainly ready and prepared to fight for my seat.
As for Lecce's visit, he made a trip to promote a 12-year, $10.9 billion investment to improve energy efficiency around the province. The Home Renovation Savings Program, announced 2 weeks ago, launches on Tuesday, offering up to 30% rebates for households and businesses on certain home energy efficiency renovations. Vasilios Bellos, TBT News.
Kiiwetinoong MPP Saul Mamakwa has been nominated once again to represent the NDP in the upcoming provincial election. Mamakwa will be seeking his 3rd straight victory in his riding.
I didn't know that I would be going on a 3rd term. When you think about the last 6.5 years or so, it's been an experience, and I think because I had no plans to become a politician or to take this road at all. I had no plans.
Despite ending up in politics unexpectedly, Mamakwa has been making waves at Queen's Park. Last May, he made history when he was the first MPP to officially address the Ontario legislature in an Indigenous language. Mamakwa, who is currently the deputy leader of the NDP, hails from Kingfisher Lake First Nation and has represented Kiiwetinoong since 2018. He was re-elected in 2022 with nearly 58% of the vote. Mamakwa says with the amount of support he's seen from constituents regarding his efforts, he's optimistic that he will retain his seat.
I think there is certainly a strong support, and I think when we talk about the northern issues, and I think that's so important to bring the issues together, like no matter where you live, no matter where we are in Northern Ontario, when we talk about roads, when we talk about access to healthcare, mental health, and housing, it affects us all. And I think so. I am pretty confident, and I think not to say, elections are elections, and anything can happen as well.
The Ontario Green Party has nominated Carolyn Spicer to take on Mamakwa and Kiiwetinoong. The PCs and the Liberals have not yet announced their candidates for that riding. Friends and family of a missing Long Lake 58 First Nation woman are continuing to search for her in Thunder Bay. Her loved ones believe the 35-year-old woman is missing against her will, and they're seeking any information that could lead to her safe return. Justin Hardy reports.
I just want to know if she's okay.
The family of 35-year-old Adrienne Toagijic is pleading with those in Thunder Bay who may hold information related to her disappearance to report what they know to the police. Toagijic was last seen on January 10th in Long Lake 58 First Nation. OPP announced the missing persons case on January 16th, and Thunder Bay police are assisting in the investigation. It is believed that she's here in Thunder Bay, and her grandmother Mary Waboose does not believe Adrienne is missing by her own volition.
There was a guy at her place, and after that, January 10th, that's when she went missing. And we believe that he brought her to Thunder Bay.
Toagijic is described as standing at 5'5" with a medium build, long brown or black hair, and brown eyes. She was last seen wearing a long black parka and dark-colored combat boots. According to her grandmother, she may have two black eyes that may make it harder to recognize her. Toagijic is known to frequent the area of Andrus Court. The family is being put up in the city by Long Lake 58 Band administration as the search continues. Band rep manager and band councillor Noreen Agnew says it's been important for the First Nation to support the family in their time of need.
So we've been up here since Monday, I believe, working with the family, working with Thunder Bay Police, meeting them here, getting a hold of social media, putting our pictures out, using this office, because we do have an office here in Thunder Bay, using this office as the headquarters to the contact place, I guess, to be able to do that work for the family and for her.
Any food donations that can be provided would be appreciated and can be organized through band leadership. Toagijic's father, Vernon Shibagabo, has this message for his daughter and the city at large.
Adrienne, if you're out there, could you please call us, or if you can locate you, or could the city at least help us locate her, please?
Justin Hardy, TBT News.
Treaty 3 police in the Fort Frances area released photos of 3 men on Wednesday who are wanted for criminal offenses. One of those suspects has since been apprehended, while the other 2 remained at large as of Friday. The person taken into custody Thursday was 31-year-old Dakota Smith. He was wanted on multiple criminal charges and for actively evading law enforcement. One of the suspects, who is still facing an arrest warrant, is 34-year-old Peter Thomas Atkinson. He's known to live in Couchiching First Nation and the Fort Frances area. The other man who is still at large is 43-year-old Jonathan Bombay. Police won't say what specific charges the 3 men are facing. OPP are assisting Treaty 3 police in executing the arrest warrants. Residents in that area are being warned not to approach the suspects, but to call police immediately. The Nishnawbe-Aski Police Service is about to see a major expansion over the next few years. NAP's Chief Terry Armstrong says it will benefit all 34 communities they serve. Last month, Solicitor General Michael Kersner and NAN Grand Chief Alvin Fiddler announced that NAPS would be opting into provincial policing legislation, resulting in a funding boost that would double the size of the force. Brendan Miller has more.
NAPS is the first ever First Nations police service to opt into the Community Safety and Policing Act after the new provincial legislation came into effect last year. During the announcement in December, government and NAN officials confirmed an investment of $514 million that would be contributed to NAPS. This massive influx of cash gives NAPS Chief Terry Armstrong the ability to start growing the force.
NAPS will be expanded exponentially over the next few years, 5 to 10 years. We're putting through bigger classes into the Ontario Police College. We're looking at beefing up both our civilian and our officer complements, human resources. So yeah, things are looking up.
Currently, the force has 260 officers. Armstrong says they'll be adding up to 80 officers a year to eventually double the affected number to 520 officers. For the 34 communities that NAPS serves across a huge portion of Northern Ontario, this is welcome news.
It's all 34 detachments will see a significant increase in size, basically doubling. We're deploying them as need be into the communities. And like I say, with the the expansion of 80 per year, that doesn't include attrition. So we're looking at probably a plan of 8 years to get those officers hired and into the communities and trained.
Armstrong says the expansion plan will also include new infrastructure, such as NAPS detachments and headquarters. Overall, the NAPS chief is beyond pleased how much this will help the communities.
We all know it's been drastically underfunded for many, many, many years, and now we can build towards safer communities for the First Nations people of Northwestern and Northeastern Ontario.
Brendan Miller, TBT News.
Anishinaabe police have charged a 52-year-old man for allegedly assaulting one of its officers in Martin Falls on Tuesday afternoon. NAP says its officers responded to a disturbance call at a home when one of them was attacked. The officer wasn't seriously injured. The accused had a bail hearing on Wednesday and remains in custody. It's time now for a short break. When we come back, we'll hear about the latest phase in the process to develop the Ring of Fire mining area.
Each of the communities will be working on their own sections of the reports, engaging with knowledge holders, elders, community members.
A major step has been completed in developing the Ring of Fire. 15 First Nations and the Impact Assessment Agency of Canada have agreed on terms of reference for a regional assessment. It'll look at how the future development in the remote area might affect the environment, society, and the economy. Jessica Clement has the details.
Representatives from 15 First Nations, including all 9 Matawa communities, have started work with the Impact Assessment Agency of Canada to evaluate the impacts of development in the Ring of Fire mining area. The assessment will focus on the region's environment, society, and economy.
The goal of this is to really understand the baseline data. What are the current conditions? What are the challenges that are facing communities? What's the sort of environmental realities that are up in that area? And then to understand, and for every community to come together in community-driven processes.
Ian Ketcherson, the agency's Vice President of Indigenous Relations, says the group will be meeting this week to plan out the work that needs to be done. He explains the terms of reference gave them a 30-month time frame to gather all the data and put it in a final report, which will be presented to First Nation leaders and the Minister of Environment and Climate Change.
There's lots of work that's going to happen in the meantime. We're going to be working on databases and mapping to present information, and each of the communities will be working on their own sections of the reports, engaging with knowledge holders, elders, community members to get going on the research and study.
Ketcherson adds that a critical part of the process is to take the time to sit down and get to know the communities they're working with.
If you create that sort of strong relationship foundation for dialogue, there's you can do some pretty amazing things. And in a part of the country where the perspectives are so diverse, the implications for communities of future development are huge, and the potential for development in an area are so vast that I'm just really proud that we've been able to make it to this point, and looking forward to the work that's ahead of us.
Jessica Clement, TBT News.
The Minayawin Health Center in Sioux Lookout will be receiving provincial funding for its first ever MRI scanner. Canora Rainy River MPP Greg Rickford welcomed his government's announcement on Friday. The province will spend $8.1 million to purchase, set up, and operate the new state-of-the-art magnetic resonance imaging machine and diagnostic suite at the hospital. Patients currently have to travel to Thunder Bay or Winnipeg for an MRI. Sioux Lookout Mayor Doug Lawrence has said they need an MRI to help bring health equity for the region, particularly the First Nations of the North. Hospital CEO Dean Osmond says he's extending his greatest appreciation to the government and the Ministry of Health for recognizing and supporting this need for their patients. Thunder Bay Superior North MPP Lise Vaugeois is upset about the impending closure of the Bank of Montreal branch in Scriber, but she says there's still hope for the community as it scrambles to come up with a solution.
The letter from BMO actually says in small print at the end that it's possible to make an appeal to the Financial Consumer Agency of Canada. And that appeal is possible if BMO has not adequately consulted the community. Well, there's been no consultation. So I don't think there's any question that there is the right to make an appeal and to challenge the decision, which I will be supporting.
The branch celebrated its 100th year in service in 2013 and is planning on closing its doors on July 25th. The bank is the only one between Nipigon and Marathon, and the branch will be hosting an information session on February 12th about the closure. Scriber's mayor and council has begun looking into solutions and perhaps trying to attract another financial institution to the town. But Vaugeois says that may take a few years, leaving many in the lurch.
Some people have suggested, let's bring in a credit union. So I've done a little bit of research on that. A new credit union takes at least 2 years to set up, but is there a possibility of a branch being set up there from an existing credit union? That's a big question. It will take, it takes quite a lot of work to dig into that.
MP Patty Haidu has issued a statement saying this trend of banks closing branches in rural communities deeply affects many members who rely on in-person services. Meanwhile, MP Patty Haidu has announced she's supporting Mark Carney as the next leader of the federal Liberal Party. TBT News spoke with the local MP and cabinet minister on Wednesday, and she expressed confidence that the former Bank of Canada governor will bring a strong new direction to the party.
Really was quite impressed by his experience, his leadership, his vision for the country, and I would say his stability. That experience that he's had being the Bank of Canada governor, the governor of the Bank of England during two very difficult economic times for both countries, really gave me comfort in the quality of leadership that he represents.
Haidu joins a growing list of current and former cabinet members backing Carney. When asked why she was supporting him over longtime cabinet colleague and former Deputy Prime Minister Christa Freeland, Haidu did not respond directly. But she referenced Carney's ability to work across partisan lines and pointed to his time as governor of the Bank of England between 2013 and 2020.
Well, I would just say that the times are dramatically different. It calls for a different approach. One of the parts of the conversation that we had was the ability of Mr. Carney to be able to work across partisan lines. And you have to be able to have a sort of a big tent approach where ideas and solutions coming from a variety of different voices are welcome.
Thunder Bay Rainy River MP Marcus Pulowski is also endorsing Mark Carney. He says Carney is the person he wants to see across the negotiating table from Donald Trump.
He's got an unbelievable resume. I think everybody has to acknowledge that. Given the fact that, like he's a PhD from Cambridge, he was former governor of Bank of Canada, former governor of Bank of England, bigwig executive with a lot of big companies, Goldman Sachs. Like the guy's, you're not going to get a better resume than that. I think Parliament ought to be full of a bunch of people with a lot of different backgrounds.
Pulowski believes the party would benefit from a new leader who isn't closely tied to Justin Trudeau, and noting that Carney's fresh perspective can bring innovative solutions within the Liberal Party. Pulowski adds that he deeply admires the dedication of other leadership candidates, particularly Christa Freeland, who is considered to be Carney's biggest challenger for the job.
Christa Freeland has done a lot of good things for Thunder Bay. For example, when she said that the subway cars were going to be built in Thunder Bay, that was politically huge. Although she doesn't have the power to do that, the fact that she said it is going to make it hard for those cars to be built anywhere else. There's a lot of reasons I'd like to support Christa, but people want somebody different, and people want a different kind of leader.
Canora OPP have arrested a woman from that community after a routine police call turned into a drug seizure this week. Officers responded to a call about an unwanted person and discovered more than 26 grams of fentanyl valued at around $18,000. Police also seized cash, weapons, and cell phones. The 28-year-old suspect was charged with drug trafficking, personation to avoid arrest, and carrying a concealed weapon. She remains in custody pending her next court appearance. A woman from Bigtagong-Nishnawbek has released her first book. We'll have that story when we come back.
They have a beautiful story, and so I'm going to scream it as loud as I can, and I'm just so happy to share that story.
A woman from Bigtagong-Nishnawbek has released a new book. Chantel Richmond recently hosted a book launch and signing event at the Lakehead University Law School. The event featured a Q&A session about Richmond's powerful new book, Because This Land is Who We Are. Richmond's connection to her home community shines through in the book, which she co-wrote with international collaborators from New Zealand and Hawaii. The story highlights the deep ties between people and their land, with Bigtagong Nishnawbek playing a central role.
I'm super proud of my community, Bigtagong Nishnawbek. They have a beautiful story. And so I'm going to scream it as loud as I can, and I'm just so happy to share that story. So that's like one really great PR. You know, the coming and the being is so important for inspiring next generation of young people in universities, in high schools, in communities. In my journey, the thing that I always want to do is bring others along with me. And so I'm really excited for the young students who are in the audience, for the community members, for other people to see and hear from, you know, the journey that I took.
The book is available for free online with an open access version that anyone can download. Richmond encourages people to try out the first chapter, which she says is a beautiful journey. Despite a couple of dumps of snow over the past 2 months, snowmobiling in parts of the region is off to a slow start. Officials with the Thunder Bay Adventure Trail Snowmobile Club say they still don't have enough to fully open all of their riding trails.
We have a little bit more snow, so we've been able to go out with our groomers and do a little bit of packing on our trails that are based on logging roads. But any of our trails that are wilderness based, like through the bush, across creeks and rocks and stuff, there's nowhere near enough snow for those areas yet.
Club President Adrian Tessier says they're definitely off to a better start compared to last year, but they're still about a month behind schedule. Despite the lack of snow, over 200 snowmobile permits have been sold this year, which is typical, but the club noticed riders were waiting a little longer to purchase them. The club maintains almost 400 kilometers of trails in the region, but right now only 70 kilometers of trail in the Chappaqua and Shabandawan areas are open. Tessier says to fully open up, they need about 18 inches or 45 centimeters of snow.
So right here you can see we've got probably 3 or 4 inches of snow. Out towards Chappaqua there might be 6 or 8 inches of snow and everything in between, but not more than that. We're snowmobilers ourselves, so we want to get out on the trails and do some riding, and so the hope is that we're going to be able to do that.
Updates on all the trails around the Northwest can be found on the Ontario Federation of Snowmobile Clubs website. That's all for this edition of Northwest Newsweek. We'll be back next time with more of the top stories from across the Northwest.